I'll be honest with you, I'm not 100% sure if this is on and live. I'm assuming it probably is now, just with the time. So I just wanted to welcome everybody to kick things off. I can see the room it's filling up. There's about 50 people already on the call. So we've got nearly 100 people sort of scheduled. So I'm just going to buy us a little bit of time just to get those that haven't logged in the ability to do so. And then sort of joining us. So sort of 5 minutes or so, we'll kick off, and I'll hand you over to Sean. So first and foremost, so welcome everybody that's already on the call. I just wanted to let you all know. So I'm Mark from the One Group. There's probably only 3 things that could go wrong while I'm doing this brief discussion to you now. And those 3 things are in my house, and I love them all dearly. So my wife is upstairs in a safe room. She's doing her MBA. Love her dearly. These are probably also the 3 things that are keeping me the most sane while we're going through what we're going through. So my wife, Debs, is studying, but also looking after our 8-week-old baby. Anytime my wife could walk through, perhaps with my baby. So again, I apologize in advance if that happens. And then the 3rd thing that possibly could go wrong could be my 8-year-old Westie Charlie. So he's currently sat on my feet, but he seems to be respecting the social distancing rules. And anyone that comes in a 2-meter proximity of my house, he does seem to go rather mental. So if anybody knocks at my door or comes any close proximity, I think everybody will know. So fingers crossed we can get this through before that happens. On to how today is going to work. So we, I guess as a business, we're getting much more familiar with webinar software and how this is all working, which is a really good thing. So I think as a result of us coming out the back end of this, which I'm sure we all will do, we should be much more technologically savvy, which would be great. So there should be a toolbar for everybody somewhere on the screen, probably down this side somewhere, and it gives you an opportunity there to write some questions in a chat function. So if you could, and feel free, I'd like to hear from most people in the room, just to let us know what you want to get out of this session today. So we are going to be discussing coaching your team to remote working success. So this is something that's been thrown upon us all. This is probably not something that we are all used to doing or have done before. There may be some leaders that are in this room that have done so and done so effectively. So I'd be really keen to understand those that have. But again, what are you trying to get out of today? What are the most important things? If you can let us know, we'll do our best to address them. And if not, we are going to be doing a further series of these. So it will help us shape the next in the series that we're going to be doing further from here. So we want to keep pushing out some relevant, engaging material that you're going to get some value from. So please let us know what you want to get out today in this type of session. Also, from a questions point of view, please again put them back in that questions box. So when I hand you over to Sean, there may be something that's quite pertinent to what's being discussed. So please, by all means, write a question down while it's fresh in your head. Sean will do his best to get to those questions as and when they come through, and the ones that he'll have time for. Those that don't, we're finding a way this end of collating them. So we will either do an FAQ sheet and come back to you with them. We'll come back to you directly and answer your questions. So please come back to us with anything, just ask us any questions at all, and we'll come back to you, if not through the session, because we want to try and keep it as punchy as possible, but it will be afterwards, and we'll make sure that you get an answer to your query that you have. I guess I've kind of bought a bit of time now. We've got, we're getting there now. So I'll probably just give us another 5 minutes before we crack on. So again, thank you those that have logged on already. So just wanted to give you a brief introduction as to us and why we're doing this and what I'm hoping that everybody can get out of it. So before going into much of that, I just wanted to thank everybody. So from a One Group perspective, I just wanted to thank those internally, those One Groupers that we've got working behind the scenes that have managed to shape and put these webinars together at really short notice. So we are a specialist recruitment organisation in the local marketplace predominantly. So been going for 16 years. We've got a good footing in the marketplace, but of course that marketplace has drastically changed for us all, and there's not many people out there that are recruiting at the moment. So we need to keep ourselves busy, and we're keen to make sure that we are demonstrating some good value add and engaging content for our clients and network out there. So hence the reason why we're putting these things on. Now, we also had an event schedule, which we invest quite a lot of money in over the last couple of years, and we've snowballed in terms of its success and size. So some people in the room may have already done some of our events more face-to-face. We can't do them now, of course. So again, this is a really good sort of offshoot of our events scheme. So I'd also like to thank the partners that we've drafted in at really short notice to put together these presentations, to put together these webcams and put together these events. So we've got a number of them. We've already done a working from home effectively and juggling that with homeschooling. So that was done already this week. We've got today's session, of course, looking at how you can install effective coaching techniques with your teams now they are remote and working away from you. We are going to be having next week one in and around well-being with Jackie Kemp from Your People Potential, and she will be discussing a bit more about how we can identify some of the well-being aspects that are so important to us as businesses that are out there, and especially how challenging it's going to be to recognise those with our staff. And then finally, in this sort of series, we're going to be doing one around furlough and the furloughing of staff, the challenges of this, what the impact could be, how this is going to be perceived, how businesses should be behaving around it, what we should be doing, and again, some really good questions that are going to come through. So we're doing that one with Mills and Reeve, and that one is going to be a week on Wednesday. So that is the first one, and then there'll be another one in the series at least for that. So we're going to be packaging these up, and certainly over the next sort of coming weeks, we want to be able to put these together. But please, please, please let us know if there's things out there that are troubling you. You've got your own challenges. It's tough. I get it. It's really, really difficult for us at the moment. But actually, maybe we'd be able to help. We might be able to get some interesting content together that could answer some of the questions that are in the market and troubling people. So also what is really important to this point is getting some feedback. So we will be sending out after today. There will be some feedback which will be coming through in terms of a link. Please get through it. Please be as honest as possible. We need to know from how we're working from a sort of technical point of view, how the content has run, you know, how well that has been received. Anything else that you want to hear in the series, you know, please feedback to us. Now, we are a recruitment business, but this is nothing to do with us. This is all about you guys. This is about you getting value from what we're putting out to you in this marketplace, which is a challenge for us all, and we need to help each other out. So without further ado, and hopefully this works as seamlessly as possible. So I'm going to hand you over to Sean Beck. So Sean has done a number of things for us at Inspire and Ignite, and Sean's partnered with us a good few occasions now with a number of events. He's got a great pedigree of leadership and coaching and motivational stuff that he's done before and delivered. And yeah, I'm really looking forward to as every other business out there, we've now got remote teams that we need to understand how we can manage and coach much more effectively. So Sean, I think I've done enough now. I will mute myself and disappear, but good luck, and hope you all enjoy it. Thanks very much.
Brilliant, thanks, Mark. Bit of a virtual high five going on there. So welcome everyone. It's good to kind of see everyone, although I can't see everyone. I was hoping to be able to see into some living rooms or some home offices or some lounges just to check out the decor and kind of see how everyone's set up their home office. But unfortunately, I can't. It's just me that I can see in the top corner, which isn't great, but hey, we'll go with it. Good thing is, yeah, as Mark said, we've got that chat window to the side for me, and I can see the first question has come in already, so that's good. That seems to be working well. So I'll just kind of keep an eye on that as we go through. We've got some slides to reference as we go through as well, but there is a little bit of interaction, obviously, as with these things being online and as part of a webinar. I'll try and throw out as much interaction via the chat window as I can, but feel free to keep those questions coming in as we go through, and I'll just keep an eye to the right hand side where I've got my chat window, and hopefully we can pick up on some of them as we go through. So thanks, Mark, for the intro. You've been working on that intro. I can tell you've been practicing. So I've kind of had around about 16, 17 years in the world of learning and development, working for a real mix of organisations in the corporate world, Hotel Chocolat, Caterpillar, Ted Baker, the Environment Agency. real mix. And for the last 4 years, I've had my own training business, as Mark said, Inspire Ignite, working with a variety of businesses, teams, and individuals to coach them, develop them, grow them, help their people to unlock their potential, and deliver skills that hopefully businesses and teams need to be a great success. So I think, as Mark said, we've got an hour in the diary, we've got an hour in the calendar. We'll go with the flow a little bit, and we'll see how we go. We'll see how many questions we have come in, and hopefully we'll have the opportunity to explore some of those as we go through. Okay, so I guess just to kind of give you a little bit of a flavour for what the intention is for covering in this slot. 3 outcomes is what we've identified as being the focus. Hopefully this hits the mark for what some of you were expecting. If it's not, now's your chance to leave. Hopefully you won't. 3 outcomes or objectives. Firstly, as we go through, hopefully we'll explore the importance and benefits of coaching as a concept and as a technique that we can use. From the perspective of yourselves, hopefully you'll have some opportunities to be able to think about how maybe you can coach yourselves. Interesting times, challenging times for some. I've had lots of conversations in the last few days. Some people are taking to the new ways of working absolutely seamlessly, maybe a little bit more used to it and a little bit more familiar with it. But a lot of the people that I'm coming across, actually it's a completely new concept, to the point where, you know, people don't have a laptop, people don't have access to the systems that they need if they're away from their office. So coaching can present us with some great opportunities at this time. Sometimes it's easy to look at the challenges and some of the negative stuff, but actually it also presents some real good opportunities, particularly from a leadership perspective, as we go forward as well. Second one there, we'll spend a little bit of time just making sure we've got a bit of clarity on the real definition of coaching. It's amazing how many businesses and teams I go into, senior leadership groups that I go into, that say, yeah, we've got a coaching culture, our managers and our leaders apply coaching at every opportunity that they can. When we start to explore what real coaching is and what it isn't, actually some of those question marks start to come into play a little bit. People start to really question, are they really coaching? So we'll explore in a little bit of detail what coaching is and maybe how it differs from some of the other methods of development and leadership that we might be aware of. And really what I want to do, I guess kind of coming towards the end of the session, is get it started. It's just a real simple coaching framework that hopefully when we're doing those calls, when we're doing those Skype sessions, when we're touching base with the teams that we've got that are working remotely, just a real simple and straightforward framework that hopefully we can start to apply in reality to shift a little bit of that culture a little bit more towards the coaching style and the coaching approach that we've got the opportunity to cover as well. Just glancing down in the chat window, we've got somebody there who's in HR. Tips for staff on how they can manage their teams and make them still feel like they're part of a wider team. Coaching presents a great opportunity for that. So one-to-one or in webinars like this, where you're getting your whole team together and you can see them all in reality as well. Hopefully coaching as a concept and as a technique can really help us with some of that stuff as well. Okay. So I guess first task, first piece of audience participation. We've referenced the chat window quite a bit already. I'm going to give you a question. What are your challenges right now, based on everything that's going on out there in the world? We'll try not to mention the C word if we can. But just in that chat window, just capture a one-liner, some words that will just give us a little bit of a steer as to maybe getting a feel for what some of your challenges are right now. So go for it and see what you can capture. Okay, so here we go. We've got a few coming in now. Yeah, keeping the team focused, absolutely. Motivating people, motivating employees, motivation again, yeah. Keep them coming. Okay, yes, we've got people that are looking for jobs. Yes, maybe we're talking about people who've been furloughed or made redundant. Absolutely. Some tough conversations probably around that as well. Onboarding, so yeah, those of us that are potentially looking for new talent to bring into the business, bringing them into a new company or going into a new company. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, there's a lot going on, isn't there? And there's lots of things that are happening that are different probably to what we're used to. So I've seen quite a lot of stuff on social media and things like that that are around, you know, some of the challenges that we have. And yes, they are challenges, but also I think there's some great opportunities that may come longer term, stretching the comfort zone a little bit. Maybe feeling a little bit uncomfortable because we're not familiar with it or we're not used to it, maybe as we are going into the desk, doing the 9 to 5, logging on, doing what we do every day. But maybe we'll start to challenge some of the ways that we do things. We've got, yeah, as we're identifying in the chat, we've got people that aren't used to being remote, a little bit of lack of clarity around communication, and of course, yeah, that face-to-face interaction. And that's, for me personally, that's probably the bit that I'm struggling with the most. I very much get my energy from other people, from other groups, from lots of discussion and lots of talking to people. So that face-to-face interaction can present some real challenges. And yet, exactly as someone's just captured there, new ways of working, we've got some restrictions, we've got some limitations. Some of us are a little bit more set up than others. So there's a lot going on. There's a lot of business challenges, there's a lot of team challenges, and I think the biggie that a lot of people are saying to me as well out there in the world is time. We're having to handle our time very differently. So we don't have the time for a 90-minute meeting or a half-day meeting or a one-day meeting. We've got to speed things up. We've got to be slicker and we've got to be more efficient in the communications that we do have. But also making sure we're maintaining that contact with people, exactly as someone's just put there, while they're at home, while they're feeling a little bit on their own, feeling a bit lonely, and actually making sure that those interactions remain positive, but also don't overload people as well, and make sure that they're staying in touch and on form, definitely. Yeah. So I guess kind of from a coaching perspective, how the world out there has changed quite a lot with the moving forward of coaching as a concept. Historically, probably 10 years ago, when you look at some of the research that's out there, particularly Harvard Business Review for this particular case, about 10 years ago, coaching was used to hire external coaches and fix a toxic work culture. So we're bringing in the external experts, hopefully to get us sorted, to get us realigned, and to get us moving in the right direction. Today, and probably in a lot of your organizations, those of you that are from probably larger organizations, coaching is now seen as more about developing the capability of high potential people. So we've got that group of people that have the potential to do more, be better, improve, progress through the business or through the organization. Coaching is most commonly, probably at the moment now, used for that group of people. But actually what's starting to happen and what's starting to move forward out there in the world is people are realizing, and organizations are realizing, that coaching is now actually an essential skill for leaders. So if leaders and managers can apply some of those coaching skills and those coaching techniques, they start to move forward, they start to be more effective, people start to take more ownership and accountability for what they do, and hopefully, thinking about that last bullet point on that slide there, we start to see some positive cultural change. So in the world that we're living in at the moment, actually we're losing the option and we're losing the choice of continuing some of that maybe control and command mindset and working approach, and we're having to move more towards the learning, support, guidance, and that magic word at the very end of that sentence, trust. So we're having to build trust in people that are at home, homeschooling children, getting distracted by pets and partners that are isolating or whatever. We're having to let go of the reins a little bit and build and develop a little bit more of that trust as leaders and as managers. Just glancing into that chat, we've got some people that are saying, yeah, finding the routine, making sure we've still got that connection. Younger members of staff, yeah, who are maybe living on their own and are literally feeling fairly isolated in themselves. So actually to have this culture of coaching come to the forefront a little bit more helps to build those people's resilience a little bit more, maybe know that they do have some of the answers within them, but also offers that level of engagement and support that hopefully they need to help them to stay focused and stay motivated as well. There's some stats here. I won't bore you with too many stats, with too much information, but there is a recent Institute of Coaching survey, again, thinking about the impact of coaching on businesses. 70% of individuals who receive coaching say that they benefit from improved work performance and communication skills. So actually some of the myths around coaching being a little bit soft and a little bit fluffy, actually we're starting to dispel some of those myths because we're seeing results on improved work performance particularly. Over 80% of individuals who receive coaching build their confidence. So particularly now, where we have got a lot of people working on their own and we have got a lot of people working remotely, sometimes those doubts and that imposter syndrome and those doubts in self-confidence and that low level of resilience can have a part to play and can have quite a considerable impact on how people are coping and managing and performing. Actually, by leaders and managers using more of that coaching approach, we can build some of that, and we can identify and recognize some of that and work towards overcoming it a little bit. 86% of companies reported that they'd recoup their investment in coaching and more. So there are there's some return on investment stuff as well there. There's some worthwhile statistics that maybe help us to really make sure that we're doing what we can do. So another little opportunity for the chat window, and I don't know, I think I might have a little bit of a delay on my chat window because there's some great stuff coming through. So either people are frantically finding their flow and they're capturing what they want to capture. So I'll keep an eye for the previous question too. But your next question and your next thing to see if you can capture for me in that chat window, out of interest, I'm really interested in what words, traits, terms, characteristics, whatever you like, sentences, definitions, can you come up with that really describe what coaching is and maybe what coaching means to you? So I'll give you a little second to have a little look at that. Guidance, yeah, we've got guidance coming through there. Okay, personal trainer, supporting the achievement of, personal and professional goals, absolutely. We'll look at and explore the importance of a little bit of clarity around goals as we move through the slides and the session. Yeah, we're drawing out people's knowledge, helping them to become unstuck so they can take action. Yeah. Oh, okay, we've got a good little definition coming through there now. A form of development in which an experienced person supports the learner to achieve a personal or a professional goal. Nice definition. Yeah, absolutely. Got some personal development for both individuals and the team. Yeah, we can't forget the team. Going back to that original question that we had at the very start, making people still feel like they're part of a team and keeping people pulled together and doing that. Career achievement, advancement, progression, development for individuals and the team. Yeah, adapting examples or targets to make it relevant for the role of that the employee is doing. Yeah, thought-provoking, great one. We'll look at that a little bit more in a second. Supporting the coachee to identify their goals, find their ways to resolve them. Yeah, good stuff. Understanding the person, so the coaching can be specific, really important, you know, especially at this time. You guys, particularly those of you who are leaders and managers, probably used to working with people in an office environment, probably have got to know them really well. Now is the real opportunity to recognize who needs what from you and make sure that you deliver that as best that you can. Collaboration, guiding their strengths, supporting them to build on their weaknesses and their development areas. Listening, yeah, some some brilliant stuff there. And there's also some interesting stuff there as well, because sometimes this is where we start to fall into a little bit of a trap around what real coaching is. And there's a lot of research out there, and there's a lot of definitions that you can find online and on the internet that do describe coaching. But the challenge that we have is lots of organizations have gone away and kind of come up with their own definition. And the danger with coming up with your own definition is maybe you lose a little bit of the focus, you lose a little bit of the pure coaching opportunities that can often be presented to you. So, I mean, here's a couple of definitions that I found that are actively out there online, and I think these are pretty good. A partnership designed to help people produce fulfilling results, personal and professional lives, by facilitating really powerful conversations with the coachee, improves thinking, gets them to take responsibility for their challenge, and gives them the motivation to actually go and do something about it. So that's from the British Coaching Association, some of the more, I guess, academic coaching research that has been completed on coaching. But then, obviously, in the real world, out there where businesses have created their own definition, Simon Brown, former head honcho of Microsoft. For me, the basics of coaching are the basics of inspiring leadership: self-awareness, sincere belief in human potential, attentive listening and questioning. Does that sound like coaching? Actually, immediately he's applying his own coaching skills. He's throwing out the question to others to generate discussion, get them to think from themselves. So I think that's a great little mechanism of having a little quote, but then also making sure that we're applying coaching as a concept as well. Definitions are great. I think there's always a place for a definition and a quote, but actually sometimes this is where we start to blur the boundaries a little bit between coaching and other methods of development. And remember, what we said is actually right now what's going on, coaching is a big opportunity. So in the spirit of trying to simplify things a little bit, what is great coaching? We've got some great definitions, we've got some great thoughts that have come through. Unlocking potential has popped up there as well. Good communication. We've got mentoring there as well. We'll pull out the mentoring piece in a second. Really, really important, but sometimes that's an example of where we can maybe blur the boundaries a little bit between what coaching is and other methods of development. So what really is coaching? So in a purist sense, in a purist context, when we're talking about coaching and thinking about coaching, we're trying to introduce and we're trying to maximize powerful conversations. And when we talk about powerful conversations, we're not talking about appraisals, we're not talking about detailed one-to-ones, we're not talking about let's sit down for 2 hours and let's talk about your career, because we've got a form to fill in, because we've got a process that we have to follow, and we have to enter a rating into a computer-generated system for HR. We're talking powerful conversations that actually make a difference to an individual based on where they are now and where they want to be going in the future. So to do that, we're going to have to pull in some of those great questions, open questions, good questions that explore, challenge, really get people thinking differently, challenge their mindset and the ways that they've maybe worked in the past. It's about the future, so we're not getting hung up on what's happened in the past. We're not getting hung up on previous achievements and previous results and previous challenges. Okay, we might reference some of those to help us in our learning to move forward, but it's only about thinking about the future and what are we going to do to move forward. Outcomes and goals, and outcomes and goals is a classic one when we talk about coaching, because most of the organizations that I work with have that wonderful acronym SMART. I'm sure some of you guys do as well. So goals and objectives and what we put into our electronic systems or we write on our appraisal forms have to be specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and have a time scale. And do you know what? That's great. It's really good that we can have that clarity of focus when we're looking at our goals. But actually, if we're having those sorts of conversations to fill a form in or to complete the appraisal process, it just switches people off. So they think that we're only having this great conversation so that we can fill a form in and tick a box to say we're compliant. Actually, great coaching isn't just about goals, it's also about outcomes. So it's also about what do you want to do in the next 6 months? I want to build my confidence. What do you want to do in the next 3 months? I want to feel more confident when I log onto the laptop at the dining table, first thing in the morning, that I'm doing what I should be doing and I'm feeling good about it. It's okay to not always have those timescales, and it's okay to not always have the real detailed outline from the start, because actually if we're applying great coaching as individuals, managers and leaders, we're developing it, we're moving forward, we're building those conversations. It doesn't matter necessarily always what we write down. Yeah. So remember, there's the questions tab, or there's the chat tab. Feel free to capture what you want as we go through some of this. I can see some of the stuff is coming in. So yeah, you've got your little arrow with the questions tab. So yeah, feel free to capture anything in there that you want to. And I'm keeping an eye on it. And then we've also got Simran in the background keeping an eye on it, and just flagging anything important to me as well. So yeah, go for the questions tab, and we'll make sure that we cover as many of those as we can. So yeah, back to the great coaching. It is about listening. It's about getting rid of a little bit of that ego. It's not about you, your thoughts, your ideas, what you want, what you need. Sometimes we have to be a little bit more, but we do have to be a little bit more open-minded in our approach. Actually, we are losing control as managers and leaders right now. And for some people, that feels really, really uncomfortable. Actually, where we've got to get really comfortable is open-minded, that individuals can probably, in most cases, be self-sufficient, get through the processes that they need to get through, and achieve what they need to achieve. But we may need to just flex and adapt our approach a little bit in how we do that, making sure we start to build and encourage a little bit of that ownership and a little bit of accountability. They may be used to us giving them instructions, giving them answers, telling them the solutions, because do you know what? It's quicker just to ask my manager a question. Actually, that's not great for the manager, because they're losing valuable time where they could be adding value and progressing more on their leadership and management journey themselves. So we're trying to push and encourage some of that ownership on others. Realizing that your way isn't the only way, believe it or not, you don't have all the answers, all of your solutions aren't the best. And sometimes it's what often people say to me is the most trickiest bit, knowing when to keep your mouth shut. You might have the answers. As soon as you share your thinking or what your thoughts are or how you think an individual should approach something, you've lost the power of coaching. You've lost the power of somebody feeling that the satisfaction and the motivation of coming up with the answer for themselves. And surprise, surprise, if I come up with the answer for myself, I'm far more likely to want to move forward on it, and I'm far more likely to want to move towards the goal because I'm driving it and I want it. Yeah. So just a couple of questions just coming in just before we move on to what it isn't. Is there more of a need now for informal coaching, or should we look more on a set time contract approach? Great question. Yeah, and I think now is the time not to try and become coaching gurus and coaching experts and absolutely now coaching 100% based on the core definitions. For me, it's about starting to apply some of the principles, because right now in the world that we're in, we've got some great opportunities to do that, build some trust, and actually move forward. And some of my challenges as well is when we get through this and when we come out the end. Thanks, Dean, for your question. Actually, some of that set time, some of those detailed appraisal conversations, maybe we need to challenge ourselves a little bit as to how they function and how they operate, because sometimes those formal contractual approaches can sometimes take away a little bit some of that ownership and accountability, because like I say, it does feel a little bit like we're following a process. So thanks for that question, Dean. So what isn't it then? And this is where sometimes we get a little bit confused and we lose a little bit of the impact and we lose a little bit of the power of coaching. So coaching is not about training people. Coaching is not about trying to build someone's competence. Okay, coaching only works if an individual has the level of competence required to help them to come up with their own answers. If I'm joining your business on day one, what is the point of you saying to me, so what processes do you think we can improve around here? I don't know. Is day one I don't have the competence, I don't know how things work, I don't know what the existing processes are. I just need you to give me the information that I need. I need you to train me, guide me, steer me, make sure I am building a full picture as quickly as I possibly can. It's no good coaching me at that point. Yeah. We had, I think we had mentoring come up as one of the definitions in the chat. Mentoring is something quite different to coaching, and mentoring is really about tapping into and pulling on all of your experience and some of your expertise as well. So being the guru, so it's almost like the wise Yoda that has been there and done it, knows all of the workarounds and the best ways of doing things, best ways of approaching different situations. As a mentor, you're advising, guiding, and steering an individual based on what you feel is right. So that is where mentoring is very, very different to coaching. Remember what we've said, coaching is about individuals coming up with their own answers that are going to work for them so they can build their experience as they go through. We're not trained counsellors. It's not about focusing on the past and trying to unpick why and how people have behaved in the past and the impact that it's had. It's not about leading someone to get to the outcome that you want them to get to. Actually, some people might say that's manipulation. Yeah. Some people might say, oh, well, I've coached somebody to get to where they need to get to. You haven't coached somebody. You've just led someone to get to a course of action or a way of thinking that you want. Coaching isn't about you. Coaching is about the individual. It's not about sharing your knowledge and sharing your expertise. It's not telling them what to do in a nice way. It's not giving someone the answer if they don't reach it quick enough, because you're back to that reliance on you as an individual, just relying on you to give them the answer because it's quicker. And it's certainly not a substitute for telling someone off. We've got some performance management principles and processes to support us with that as we go through. Just a kind of bit of a pub quiz nugget, if you like. I don't know if any of you know where the terms coaching and mentoring originate from, but coaching is originally from a Hungarian word called kocsi. And these kocsis actually were physical wagons that used to transport goods between Vienna and Budapest in Hungary. So the word has originated from that concept of it's about getting one point to another. We're going on a bit of a journey, that cheesy word journey, but actually it is about helping individuals, not just tell them what to do and get them to A to B really, really quickly. It's about helping them to understand that journey. There might be some challenges on the way. There might be some great experiences that they learn on their way. Actually, it's not until you help them on that journey that they do really start to build their learning, build their mindset, develop their thinking, and think about developing their approach too. So that's where the word coaching comes from. Mentoring being slightly different, we can thank ancient Greece for the term mentor. So Odysseus went off to fight in the Trojan War. He left his son behind in Ithaca and was really concerned that he wasn't going to be able to build the skills, the learning, the knowledge, the expertise and the experience to look after the family going forward in the future if anything happened to him when he was off fighting at war. So he left his son, Telemachus, in almost the mentorship of Mentor. So Mentor worked with him over a number of years while he was off fighting at war, teaching him what he needed, guiding him, advising him, sharing his expertise, informing him of what his father would have done in these situations. He doesn't have the answers himself, but actually Mentor is the person that he's relying on him to build that knowledge and to build that level of expertise. So good for a pub quiz, or if any of you are writing pub quizzes, I know a few teams and businesses are doing pub quiz Friday via Zoom or via Skype or whatever. Two good ones for your pub quiz to test your team's knowledge on coaching or mentoring and maybe form some nice discussion around it as well. So yeah, some interesting thinking and some interesting concepts. So definitions are great, but sometimes just those clear lists on what it is, what it isn't, is where we can start to reap some of the rewards and get really focused. Okay, good stuff. So Okay, so it kind of wouldn't be a useful session if I didn't give you a few little hints and tips and didn't give you a little bit of a framework for how coaching works, and kind of how it all works as a principle and as a concept. So actually, it's a lot of us who are probably a little bit more familiar with coaching as a concept, a lot of us who have done maybe one-day training workshops or coaching programs might be familiar with the GROW model. So the GROW model is probably one of the most commonly used models that is out there in the coaching world. G being goal, R being reality, O being options, and W either being will or way forward, dependent on the version of the model that you're using. And as I was having some conversations and delivering more and more coaching training in businesses, people were kind of coming to me and saying, do you know what? I'm really struggling to come up with the goal straight off on the hoof with no discussion, with very little context. I kind of really feel like I need to be looking at information that I've got, looking at what an individual is really good at, looking at where an individual's challenges might be, thinking about maybe where some feedback that they might have had in the past has come from and where it's come from and who it's come from. Maybe we need some kind of personal profile or psychometric profile to help us to work out the environment that we work naturally well in. Do you know what? We really need to be thinking about the reality as the first part of the process. So think about where we're at right now. Think about helping our team members that are out there working from home at their dining table or in their home office. There's probably a very different reality going on for them right now to how they were used to operating in the previous world of maybe going into their desk, chatting things through with the team, throwing out ideas. So for you as a leader, really for me, the first part of this process is about exploring that reality first. What's going well? Where are your challenges? What's working? You know, how often is the cat walking in front of the webinar screen when you're trying to present a serious presentation? If we can explore some of the reality up front and build as much information and a bigger picture around the reality for the individual as we can then start to help them to work through and maybe think about focusing on some outcomes, goals, or objectives that they might want to work towards or they might want to improve. So we can start to help them to prioritize. We can start them to work out what is the real priority for them. For example, if the reality is they're working at their dining table, 3 children are maybe eating their breakfast or eating their lunch while they're trying to work. Actually, there's piles of stuff, piles of paperwork, piles of everything going on around them, and it's not a particularly great environment to work in. They've got a massive long to-do list. Maybe we can help them to think about the outcome of maybe the first step might be around making sure you've got a quieter work area for a couple of hours of the day. It could be as simple as that. But until we've explored that reality, we're going to find it tough to really focus people on the outcomes that they might want to work towards. We might encourage them to think of some choices. So the temptation sometimes is to go straight for solution. What's the reality? What's the goal or what's the outcome that we want to achieve? Brilliant, let's do it. Sometimes we forget the value of working through some different versions of choices, some different options, some different ways of thinking, because again, who says that first piece of information that flies into the brain is the best? Sometimes our role as managers and leaders is to help people to explore more of what they could know, build more suggestions and more opportunities to think a little bit differently before they actually do it. Then hopefully we can move to kickoff, we can challenge them, we can lay down a challenge and say, okay, brilliant. We've explored the reality, we've got some initial outcomes, you've got a few choices to be able to play around with and work towards. What does going forward and moving forward to kickoff actually look like? How are we going to do it and what support might you need? So as a little bit of a framework, and I'll give you a couple of examples of this in a second that might resonate a little bit with the world at the moment. But as a concept, as a principle, as a model, myself working with Laura Colton, who is somebody that I've worked on a particular project with quite recently, we kind of challenged that model of grow and thought, hold on a minute, particularly now, what's going on, it feels like a great opportunity to be making sure we're discussing and exploring some of that reality, particularly to help our team members that are working remotely to feel like they're still part of that team, to feel like they're being listened to, and to give them the opportunity to share where some of the challenges might be. And it's okay to have some of those challenges too. So kind of, I guess to kind of work through it a little bit more, and I think somebody asked if we can send the slides through. Yeah, more than happy to drop the note out with all the slides on, so don't worry too much about frantically scribbling. Yes, we've got that reality, open discussion about what's going on now, the reasons for it, and the impact that it might be having. Good opportunity for us to encourage our individuals to be honest, open up, and show that we're listening to them and we're taking their thoughts and their views on board. It's about the outcomes, which of the things from that reality discussion actually are logical first steps, are logical things to prioritize, and actually, are they outcomes? Do we need to put some clarity around some objectives? Do they need to be smart? Maybe that's dependent on the individual. Are they happy to just focus on something fairly big picture because that's how their mind works naturally? Or do we need a little bit more discussion around the clarity of what does the process actually look like that they're thinking they're going to agree to? It's the choices, it's the different ideas that you can generate, challenge thinking, be as bold and brave as you like. I think if this situation has taught us one thing, it's there are some things we really can't prepare for, there are some things we really can't think about, and I think probably many of us are doing things that we didn't think would be possible or we didn't even really think about before this. So actually, the more open-minded, the more we can challenge ourselves, the bolder we can be when we're thinking about those different choices, different options to do things differently. Actually, probably the more effective we're going to be when we come to kick off, thinking about the quick wins, thinking about what we can do in the next 20 minutes, half an hour, and what are the longer term goals. So, you know, where do we need to be in a few weeks time, a few months time, and you know, going back to the question that somebody asked earlier on, when we go back to that real world of work, actually, do we just want to go back and fall into the trap of having a 2-hour appraisal discussion that we just scribble the discussion on a form? Maybe we need to be challenging ourselves to do something a little bit differently and think a little bit differently. So, okay, so obviously I mentioned time and I mentioned trust. Probably for most of us that are looking after teams, are leading teams or managing teams remotely, yes, we've lost that face-to-face contact. Thanks, Rob. You think the ROC model is really good. Thank you for that. Hopefully you can use it and apply it in reality. So yeah, we've lost that. We've lost that time, and in some ways that's presenting us with a little bit of a challenge. In some ways, that's also presenting us with a great opportunity. We haven't got the time maybe to be having 1 hour, hour and a half conversations with people, exploring all of the ins and outs of the work that they're working on that particular day or that particular week or that particular time. What we have to focus on is the quality that goes into those conversations. Yeah. So some killer questions to help you to coach remotely. I just kind of had a little think about the ROC model and thought, actually, if you're picking up the phone to one of your team members, what might just a starting structure look like to approach some of those conversations? To A, build trust, B, let go a little bit of that ego that you have to be in control and know the ins and outs of what everyone is doing, and also to encourage a little bit of that ownership and accountability, build some of that resilience for people to help them to feel more confident that they do know what they're doing, they can get through this. It might be a little bit tricky at the start, but do you know what, if I keep going and start to work to build new habits and try new things, actually I can get through it, and probably I can be more effective as a result of it as well. So I guess kind of first example, so we're thinking about the ROC model, so we're kicking off with the reality, open discussion. So talk to me about what's going well for you and what isn't going quite so well for you today. So exploring the reality, you're putting the ownership and you're putting the emphasis on the individual that's working remotely to just literally unload anything that they want to. Could be positive stuff, it could be maybe challenging stuff or not so good stuff. You're then kind of steering them a little bit more towards where do they want to be going. Okay, so what does this look like going forward? What would a great outcome be by the end of the day? Oh, do you know what? I'd really like to have my work area set up, slick, nice, really nice environment to work. I want to have my mood music on in the background. I want to have my scented candle to the right hand side of me. Brilliant. If that's the environment that's going to give you what you need, fantastic. What a great outcome to be focused on. What do you need to do to reach that outcome? Okay, so I need to maybe shut the kids away and amuse them doing something for half an hour. That's going to give me time to clear down, anti-back everything, because that's what we're doing at the moment, isn't it? Wipe down, set my workstation up, work out what's going to work for me, what chair I need. I've got some specific tasks that I need to do to reach that outcome or that goal. Brilliant. How are you going to get started? What are you going to do to get started? Do you know what? As soon as I hang up the phone from you, manager, I'm going to get stuck into it. Or do you know what? I've got to make lunch for the kids. I'm going to do it. After I've done that, I'm going to sit down and I'm going to allocate myself 20 minutes to do that effectively. The idea is we're using the ROC model as a little bit of a framework to help us. We've got 4 key questions that we've got written down on our notepad or in our head that are just going to help us to facilitate the discussion. Not getting hung up on ticking the boxes of all parts of the process. We're not worrying if we want to add more questions or, you know, we've gone to outcome and goals and we want to go back to reality. That's okay. It's just a framework. We're keeping it relaxed and informal. And again, just trying to build and apply a few more of those coaching styles and techniques, maybe than we have done before. So here's another example. So this week you are going to focus on contacting previous customers to check in based on everything that's going on. Talk to me about how that's gone. We're starting to move a little bit more towards outcomes. What's the goal for this week to continue the momentum of that? Because it sounds like we've had some good results. What does the process for that look like? Or what options might you have for doing that? Maybe thinking about some of the choices. Okay, so what's your first steps? When are you going to get started? Some questions to really focus them on making sure they're moving towards kickoff and they're actually going to commit to doing something. And then the last example, I was talking to somebody the day before yesterday. They have moved a lot of their call center to working from home remotely, and those people that are working remotely are picking up the online chat responses. And actually, some of those results have dropped by 30%. Actually, guys, why is that a challenge? What's going on at the moment with this new setup that is making it really difficult and really hard for you? Encourage some discussion from maybe the team overall from that perspective. What does great look like to start to get us back on track by the end of this week? We're not expecting perfection. It's a tough time. What could start to help us to move forward a little bit? We've got a big challenge. What suggestions have we all got to get back on track? And what do we all need to do to get things moving? So again, using the ROC model, reality, outcomes, choices, kickoff, a really, really slick, effective way that just helps people to get to grips with what they need to do, to understand the situation that they're in for themselves, and have the opportunity to not just be told what to do, not just be advised what actually my manager thinks is best for me. My manager hasn't seen my dining table. My manager hasn't experienced, you know, the environment that I'm living in the moment. Actually, we need to be encouraging people to come up with their own solutions. If they come up with their own solutions, they're far more likely to build it, grow it, and develop it. So starting to kind of think about what can this help us to deliver. We've referenced a few of these as we've gone through as well. What does coaching deliver? So we're starting to apply that coaching model and that coaching concept. Well, it is about accountability and ownership. So as we've already said, if I'm coming up with the answers and the solutions and my own actions for myself, I'm far more likely to want to make it happen, achieve it, and make a difference by doing it. It builds trust within teams. So as we said at the start, managers and leaders have got to start to let go of the ego a little bit. This isn't just about you. This isn't just about what you think, what you want, how you want things to work. we've got to build some trust. We've got to start putting some ownership and some emphasis on individuals and trust them that, do you know what, they might not be working the same hours that they were working before. Have to take a 2-hour lunch because they've got stuff going on that they need to do in that 2 hours. They might be starting earlier and finishing a little bit earlier as well, because maybe they've got somebody that needs them, that they've got to go and visit and they've got to care for. Now is the time to be showing individuals that we absolutely trust them to do what they need to do, to take ownership and accountability for their own work, and help them to understand that we're there to support them, not just to continue to tell them what to do, set expectations, give them their goals. We need to be releasing a little bit of that control. It's about personal growth. So a lot of people that I'm talking to are saying, do you know what, I've been furloughed, I've got nothing to do, I'm still got some income coming in because I'm being paid the 80% or whatever. Actually now could be the opportunity for those individuals from a personal perspective to almost be doing a little bit of self-coaching. So following the rock model for themselves, maybe exploring some personal challenges, maybe doing a little bit of personality profiling, going online, doing some of those, you know, those free emotional intelligence building, self-awareness building questionnaires. Actually, now is the opportunity to establish your own reality. What's working for you, what isn't, what's good, what isn't. Actually, when we come out of the other side of this, where do you want to be and what situation do you want to be in? There may be some big opportunities for personal development as well. There's a lot of online learning, e-learning. A lot of businesses are making their e-learning modules free to access. What a great opportunity to be tapping into some of that personal stuff, maybe while people have got slightly more downtime, or for some people who are under a little bit less pressure than others as well. Building creativity, building curiosity. There's a lot of research out there that is adding curiosity into leadership competencies moving forward. Asking questions, giving that element of challenge, challenging mindset consistently and constantly to move us forward. It's about better quality conversations, which we've spoken about a few times as we've gone through the call. Deepens manager and colleague relationships, obviously as part of that trust. Sharper focused on goals. A little bit more resilience there, coping with change. We're experiencing probably one of the biggest changes in team and business working life right now, and assessing risk, helping them to think about things in context and how that might help them going forward. And obviously, hopefully, your individuals, your team members are going to feel like, do you know what, in that tough situation, in that tough scenario that we went through for that period of time, my manager really stepped up. They trusted me, they gave me ownership and accountability to do what I needed to do. And because they did that, I continued to perform and I continued to achieve what I needed to achieve. So coaching done well can make a real difference. So here's a few more questions. So this is kind of what I pulled together for when I send the slide deck out for you to actually start giving it a go. If you've got calls to make this afternoon, if you want to touch base with some of your team members this afternoon or tomorrow, getting towards the end of the week is a great opportunity to check in. What's going well and where have your challenges been while you've been working remotely this week? Where do you want to be going? What's the focus for next week? What's the key areas that you want to be setting yourselves as goals or outcomes or objectives to work through? What do you need to do? What support do you need from me? Do you want me to phone you every morning at 9 o'clock for half an hour? Or do you know what? Are you quite happy getting stuck in, getting your head down, and me leaving you to it? And you're just going to touch base and you're going to take the lead, and I'm trusting you to do that as we move forward. Different people need different things. It's not about what you want to do and what you feel you should be doing. It's about what that individual needs from you to be effective. You never know, there might be some people that are thinking, just get out of my face, just get off the call. I don't want to talk to you for another hour. I know what I'm doing, let me do it. And then getting them to think about how are they going to get started on that. So again, building that level of accountability and building that ownership too. Okay, good stuff. Whoops. So hopefully we are pretty much spot on an hour. So I couldn't have done that no matter how many times I'd practiced. So a thumbs up for the timekeeping for myself. I'll take some recognition personally for that. Explore the importance of benefits of coaching, thinking about yourselves, thinking about leaders that are maybe out there in your business, or if you are a leader, and also thinking about maybe some of the benefits for the business as well, building that engagement, building that performance, and helping people to take that ownership. It is an interesting time. We're having to challenge how we're working, how we're thinking. We're having to challenge some of those habits. Hey, maybe this is also a great opportunity to make some new, better habits than maybe some of the more negative ones that we've covered. We've confirmed the real definition of coaching, hopefully, and the opportunities that it does bring to us right now if we choose to try and think a little bit differently. And hopefully we've given you a little bit of a simple coaching framework to support you and your teams while you're working remotely. Think about it from a personal perspective. Think about what others need. Remember, help them to establish their reality, get focused on the outcomes that they want to achieve, help them to explore some choices or some options to take forward, and then get them started to have to move forward as well. So if you want a little bit of additional help, we do have our game changer cards. So I don't know if any of you have come across these or are aware of these. We've got 6 sets of game changer cards, and some people have kind of done a bit of a last minute purchase and said, actually, while the post is still working normally, people are working from home. I've had a couple of people that have actually asked if I can send some of these out to their team members individually, just to help them with some of their thinking, learning and reflections as we're going through. So there's cards for leadership success, career and personal success, leadership coaching, we've got business success. If you want to have a little look at those, they're on Amazon, they're also on eBay, but if you ping me an email direct, with everything that's going on, with the challenging times, we're maintaining that the initial launch price. These launched back in January. We're retaining the initial launch price for a little bit longer because it feels like a great opportunity for people to be tapping into as they go through as well. Yeah, so I hope you're taking something away. Most importantly, I hope you've got some hints, tips that hopefully you can apply in reality. I hope you found it useful. I think next step is for us to make sure that you all get a copy of the slide pack. We'll make sure we pick up on any questions that I may have missed as we've gone through, and I was kind of getting into my flow there, so apologies if I have missed anything. We'll make sure we pick up on any of those as well. Mark, did you want to just pick up to kind of summarise and finalise a little bit as we come to the end?
Yeah, just a couple of minutes from me, really. I guess, yeah, thanks very much, Sean. Yeah, good as ever, and it's a really good insight for us all around coaching generally, but also some really good tips there about how we can introduce it when we're working in this remote environment, which is really, really important to us all. And I guess we as a business are affected in that way, like everybody else. We thought we had an agile and flexible working and adult working environment. I think we were getting there. But actually this has really forced us, and I think it's going to force us all to think a lot differently and react a lot differently. So thank you for all of that. In terms of the follow-up, it will come in, so there'll be an email that comes through. It will have 2 things. So it'll have the video, so actually a full recorded video from today. It will have the slides that Sean will give us. I think there was some reference there that Sean made about some learning, and there are some really good free learning sites that we've come across as well. I will get that detail and I will share it with people because yeah, there could be some opportunities there for people to sort of use these sources. So we're happy to share those, the ones that I've come across, and also the feedback. So please give us some feedback on how today has gone. I also want to apologise for the first 10-15 minutes because I think the webcam may have been looking at me gormlessly. Apologies for those that might have been in the room and just looking at me drinking my coffee. Hopefully I didn't pick my nose too much. But I just wanted to say thank you very much for everybody. Thank you, Sean. Amazing of you, and have so many people, nearly 100 people today, sort of getting some value from the content. So we want to do more of these. We want to make sure they're right for everybody. So keep safe, everybody, and we'll see you very soon. Thank you very much.
Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.